Europe did not always believe in nations. For most of its history, people did not ask, "What country am I from?" They asked simpler questions. Who protects me? Who do I pray with? Who speaks like me? Loyalty was personal. To a village, a lord, a faith, a dynasty that claimed to rule by God's permission. Then, slowly and painfully, that web of belonging tore. Borders hardened. Languages were standardized. Flags replaced faces. And millions were told, often violently, that they belonged to something abstract called a nation. We're taught this as progress, as inevitability, as modernization. But beneath the textbooks is an emotional wound Europe still carries. Because forming nations didn't just redraw maps, it reprogrammed identity. And not everyone survived that transformation intact. Before nations, there was nested loyalty. Medieval Europe was not chaotic. It was layered. A peasant in Burgundy might owe taxes to one lord, military service to another, pray under Rome, speak a regional dialect, and live under laws older than the crown itself. This complexity wasn't a flaw, it was a buffer. Power was fragmented. So was identity. If one authority failed, another could absorb the shock. No single institution owned the soul. People didn't need a nation because belonging was already distributed. But distributed systems are hard to control, and control was becoming the obsession of early modern rulers. War, fear, and the hunger for certainty. The fracture begins with fear. The Black Death tears through Europe. The 100 Years' War bleeds generations dry. The Reformation shatters religious unity. Suddenly, the old anchors, church, feudal loyalty, tradition, no longer guarantee order. When the world feels unstable, humans crave clarity. Kings respond by centralizing. They raise standing armies, standardize taxes, codify laws, choose one language for administration. And slowly, a new idea emerges. If people believe they are one people, they will fight, pay, and obey as one. The nation is born not from poetry, but from panic. The nation as an emotional technology. A nation is not just territory, it is an emotional contract. It says, you belong to people you've never met. You share a fate with strangers. You will sacrifice for an idea. This was revolutionary and dangerous. To make it work, rulers had to simplify identity. Local customs became obstacles. Minor languages became threats. Regional loyalties became treason. Uniformity wasn't cultural, it was psychological. People were taught to feel national pride, national shame, national destiny. The nation didn't replace older identities gently, it crowded them out. Maps that demanded blood. Borders used to be fuzzy, they followed rivers, marriages, influence. Nation-states required sharp lines, and sharp lines cut. In France, regional languages were suppressed. In Spain, internal diversity was feared. In Britain, the periphery was disciplined. In Central Europe, empires fractured into jealous heirs. To form nations, Europe had to answer a brutal question: who belongs and who does not? Every answer created outsiders. Minorities became suspicious by definition. Migration became betrayal. Difference became disloyalty. The emotional cost was immense. Belonging became conditional. Why the idea stuck? Here's the paradox. Nations caused suffering, but they also solved a problem humans couldn't ignore. They offered meaning at scale. In a world growing larger, through trade, cities, bureaucracy, people needed a story that matched that scale. The nation provided a shared past, a collective future, a sense of dignity, a reason to endure hardship. It told ordinary people, you matter because your people matter. That promise was intoxicating, even when it was false. When history became a weapon, to sustain nations, history had to be edited. Messy pasts were smoothed, conflicts reframed as destiny, heroes invented, villains simplified. School children learned national myths before they learned complexity. This wasn't accidental. A nation cannot survive if people remember too many loyalties. So Europe taught selective memory. The emotional break wasn't just political, it was cognitive. People learned to forget parts of themselves. The question: Europe never resolved. The nation promised unity, but it also demanded exclusion. So Europe faced a question it still hasn't answered. Can you build belonging without erasing difference? Every major crisis reopened the wound. World War I, nations bleed each other dry. World War II, nationalism becomes lethal. Cold War, identity hardens into blocks. European Union, an attempt to soften borders again. Each era swings between fear and cooperation. Because the emotional break never healed. Why it still hurts? Even today, Europe lives in tension. Local identity versus national loyalty. National sovereignty versus continental unity. Memory versus myth. Brexit wasn't just political. It was emotional nostalgia. So is Catalan independence. So is Flemish identity. So is Balkan fragmentation. These aren't accidents. They are aftershocks. Because when nations formed, something intimate was lost. The permission to belong in overlapping ways. What the nation gave and took. To be fair, nations achieved real things. They limited feudal chaos. They expanded rights, eventually. They gave people political voice, but they also narrowed the imagination. They taught people to die for symbols, to fear neighbors with similar blood, to confuse pride with hostility. The nation became a powerful tool, and like all tools, it reshaped the hand that used it. A psychological turning point. Here is the quiet truth. Europe didn't form nations because it wanted to. It formed them because older forms of belonging broke under pressure. The nation was a repair, not a perfect one. It stitched together fear, pride, memory, and power. And the seam still aches. The question we inherit. So the question isn't historical, it's personal. How much of your identity is inherited? And how much was assigned? Do you belong because you chose to? Or because someone drew a line before you were born? Can loyalty be plural? Or must it be exclusive? Europe's struggle is not over land. It is over how many identities the human heart can carry without tearing. After the break, Europe formed nations because it was afraid of fragmentation. In doing so, it created a new kind of unity and a new kind of loneliness. Today, Europe experiments again. Unions without erasure, borders without walls, belonging without blood. It is unfinished, fragile, contested. But maybe that is the lesson the nations never learned. Belonging does not need to be singular to be strong. And maybe the pain still hurts because the break was never meant to be permanent. History doesn't move forward cleanly. It circles its own wounds, asking quietly whether we are finally ready to belong without fear. Join us on a journey through the ages where every question becomes an opportunity to discover. Subscribe Timeless Questions channel now and start exploring life's greatest questions with us.